زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. ربنا زدنا علما وإخلاصا. اللهم انصر أولياءك في غزة وفي فلسطين كلها وفي اليمن وفي لبنان، وانصرهم على عدوك وعدو من إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم ألف بين قلوبهم وأصلح ذات بينهم وسدد عميهم وسدد خطاهم وسدد رأيهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في غزة وفي فلسطين كلها وفي اليمن وفي لبنان وفي كل مكان. اللهم فرج عنا وعنهم ونفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So we continue our reading of Iqbal's Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam. And here he stopped the last time. Allama Iqbal sums up his critique of ontological argument and said that the true significance of the ontological and teleological arguments will appear only if we are able to show that human situation today is not final. What he means is the human progress in knowledge. So humans are progressively developing towards a situation where they will overcome the dichotomy between the subject and the object, and the humanity will realize that subjects and objects both are part of the same reality, which Hegel called Geist, or the Absolute, or which Muslims might call God. That's what Allama Iqbal is getting towards. So sort of a Hegelian reinterpretation of Islam. This is possible only if we carefully examine and interpret experience. If we carefully examine and interpret experience, human experience of subject and object. So don't look at it merely intellectually, but experientially, following the clue furnished by the Quran, which regards experience within and without as a symbolic of a reality described by it. Anfus wal afaq, he is referring to anfus and afaq, and already misinterpreting the Quran here. Anfus and afaq are not symbolic, they are symbols. They are symbols, or they are pointers towards the ultimate reality, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's see the footnote by the editor. Here he might be referring to the ayah سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق من ربهم. Will show them our signs within their own self and without, that is in the cosmos, حتى يتبين لهم, so that it will become clear to them that this Quran or this message is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which doesn't prove the point he is trying to make, but let's see. Regard experience within and without is symbolic of a reality described by it as the first, the last, the visible, and the invisible. This I propose to do in. So that reality is al-haq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahu al-awwal wal-akhir wal-zahir wal-batin. And Allama Iqbal is trying to relate it to Hegel's conception of the absolute, which is obviously gross misinterpretation of the Quran, and if he did believe it, that will lead to kufr for sure. But obviously, this is not his last word. Okay. Now, experience, as unfolding itself in time, presents three main levels. Whose experience? The sort of subject of experience is absent here because experience is that of humanity or the Geist itself, the reality itself. And now, experience as unfolding itself in time, so it unfolds in time, so that reality might be eternal reality, but it unfolds itself. What is unfolding? I think it seems like self-realizing or self-expressing. Present three main levels: the level of matter, the level of life, the level of mind and consciousness. So that's what progress is. So what we should remember is Hegel's absolute as against Spinoza's God. And Hegel was deeply influenced by Spinoza. It's not complete. It is completing itself. It is realizing itself. It is expressing itself, depending on how you want to spin this story. And those levels are meta, so it expresses itself in meta. And then you have life, plants and all those things, and then or animals. And then you have mind and consciousness, which is the highest level of humanity. Humanity is the highest level of the self-expression of the absolute. And that's why. And within humanity, there are figures which, express that reality even higher. So things Hegel said about Hegel said about Napoleon, for example, that he saw a God, or he was an expression of God, but also countries where he saw America as the expression of or realization of that reality, the humanity as the incarnated God, and that's obviously easy to do if you're coming from a Christian background. But that's what Allama Iqbal is, in a sense, trying to do here, to reinterpret the God of Ibrahim and Isa, Musa, and Muhammad, which is totally a God who is separate from the universe, in the sense that the universe is totally dependent on him and totally separate from him. He is seeing the world as the self-expression or self-realization of that absolute, of that God. Now experience as unfolding itself in time presents three main levels: the level of matter, the level of life, the level of mind and consciousness, subject matter of physics, biology, and such respective. Another thing is, if we look at Allama Iqbal's actual project, which is not totally shunned here, he is not Hegelian as such. He is trying to using Hegelian for Islamic purposes to establish the truth of Islam. Similarly, he's using science in his own understanding to show the superiority that Islam is truth, at least this neo-Hegelian, neo-scientific Islam, which he is presenting here. And the ayah he quoted before, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that sanurihim ayatina fil afaki wa fi anfusihim hatta yatabayyana lahum annahu al-haqqu min rabbihim. We'll show them our signs, our symbols, in the cosmos, in the external world, as well as in their own inner world, that is, in the world of mind and consciousness and psyche. With the progress in time, with the progress in human knowledge, Islamic truth will become manifest. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise, and that's true. So in that sense, if it can be, the ayah can be interpreted as saying that physics and astronomy, as they progress, and psychology and biology and physiology and neurology will attest to truth of Islam as time progresses. And that's true over time. So that doesn't mean that physics, astronomy, psychology, biology as a whole, but in certain aspects. But in order to really benefit from this and see the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being confirmed by human knowledge over time, you have to interpret that truth correctly, according to Ijma. But with Allama Iqbal, he's misinterpreting the truth of Islam itself through his Hegelian and modernist perspective here. And that's the basic flaw of his approach. But the approach itself is fine. But the basic flaw of the approach is that his interpretation of the Quran is not according to Ijma. Ijma of the Ummah. And obviously, it doesn't make sense in the Quranic context, even linguistically. So that's the problem with Allama Iqbal's whole approach in these two chapters, at least. So he gave us his Hegelian approach, and then he goes on to see how physics, especially quantum physics, because he will, that object-subject dichotomy he sees as dissolving within quantum physics, for example. So we'll come to that, inshallah. Probably we should stop here because that will require a bit more focus. And we'll start from here again now. Experience is unfolding. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. وسلم على سيدنا وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك.